Hey, sister friends. Hello and welcome to Couch Conversations at the Hands of Him. We are your hosts. I'm Rolanda. And
I'm Beverly.
Is,
Good morning.
What's up, Bev?
Not too much, just hanging in there.
Hey,
ready for this. I'm ready for this session.
Me too. We are so excited that you are joining us on the couch today. We're going to talk about our walk with Christ and everything that comes with it. And so we want you guys to just kind of sit back and take a seat because this one is going to be a good one. But before you do that, if you have not subscribed to At the Hands of Him, please do so. Join us here every Tuesday on Couch Conversations. Now, today, we have a very special guest with us, Miss Shamera Watson. What's going on, Mara?
Hey, y'all.
Hey, Shamera. You look good today. You look good.
I appreciate it.
How you feeling?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm just glad to be here. That's it.
All right.
I was gonna lie, but since we finna talk about the
listen.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna say I don't know. It's too early to call it, but I feel like I'm feeling good.
Okay. That's fair. We don't always have the answers. That's fair.
First of all, sister friends out there and At the Hands of Him land, y'all gonna have to hold on because we all have been together in several settings and it just don't make no sense. But if you just hang in there with us, I promise you, we're going to say some things that's going to help encourage you. But this is what sisterhood really looks like. And I am here for it. I'm here for the laughter. But we always come to the couch to talk about our identity in Christ, right? And so all three of us have been down in the weeds and the bushes and the thick of things. And so today we're coming back. Now we talked about self-worth before on another guest. Shamera is gonna be here and she's gonna talk to us about her identity crisis, which is self-worth. But I think we're gonna come from a different perspective. And so I'm excited to have her with us. So Shamera, do me a really good favor. Tell our sister friends how you know me and Bev, or how, just give us a little introduction about who you are and what you stand for, Miss Mira.
Yeah, so those are three questions. So I'll try to get to this. The first thing is who I am. I'm Shamera. And what I stand for. I'd like to think that at its core, I believe in being decent and orderly. And trying to get an understanding and garner a better relationship with Christ through a redefined way that works for me, and still trying to figure out what that way is. Not necessarily sure, which is why this village is so very important. Because when I hit a wall or when I'm feeling like I'm struggling with something, this village helps me to understand and even kind of break down and set up logistical things that could help me continue on that journey.
Right. Yeah, that's good. That's very good. So
I like the use of the word redefine.
Yeah.
I like that because so many times we try to do it somebody else's way.
Yeah.
And when we try that, we even will feel bad because it's not working for us. Well, that's because it's not your way.
And I would say redefined is because for me, I didn't try it anyone else's way as much as I was taught someone else's way.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I just never, until I got older and life got hard and heavy, and I just fell on my face, to be quite honest, I had never defined what the relationship was with Christ for myself. And so the redefinition comes through genuinely me not relying on someone else telling me what Christ is and who he should be and how he should show up in my life, and me just seeking him myself.
Sure.
That's so good. That is so good. And so okay, we're already jumping into identity, making the correlation of our identity. And when you're redefining and trying to understand more about God, that's where you discover more about yourself. And so quite honestly, we're here, we're talking about our identity in Christ. And of course, your identity crisis, so to speak, is a self-worth. And so I want you to just kind of tell us a little bit about that struggle that you have with self-worth, and then we're gonna kind of jump into just regular girlfriend conversation. So bring your best self like you always do, and we're just gonna jump into it. But kind of tell us, what is the struggle? What's the struggle with self-worth? What keep hitting you that you're trying to, kind of redefine?
Yeah, so I would say what keeps getting me, honestly, is because I'll get excited about something that I learn about God, and then I feel like, and then I categorize him. And then I hit another bump in the road. And then I feel like, well, God, if you was with me, that worked 2 weeks ago. And so if this is not working, what worked a few weeks ago, and this is just one of the ways, right? If this is not working, which worked 2 weeks ago, that brought me so much joy, peace, love, hope, understanding, compassion, and all of those things that we know God is, then what am I? Why am I of you? And are you with me as I walk into the situation again, trying again, but trying based on, a few weeks ago that worked for me. So I would say that that's one of the things, but also it's just being human. I find that whether it's me showing up in the world and I am just absolutely not sure of myself as a woman in her mid-30s, who many of the things that I'm venturing in to do, I'm the first in my family. And so a lot of it is me just showing up as a human being who is yet still seeking God, but also yet still figuring out who I am and how I can take the principles that I have understood about God and apply it to my worldly life, but then also thinking, is this enough? And so those two things kind of always come to challenge me, that really come up to show up as like self-worth. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bev, I know you have something. I'm going to say something really, really quick, and then I want you to jump in as well. Because one of the things I think that we all struggle with at some point in our life, like you said, Shamera, one moment might be this portion of self-worth, and then another moment may be a slightly different area of self-worth. And I think the one thing that I keep coming up with when I'm looking at this identity crisis with self-worth is, what is my true opinion about myself? How do I see myself? And then after I have sat with that and toggled with that and tried to understand what that means to me, what I mean to me, then I take that and then I size it up to the world or to someone else's opinion of what I think they may think of me. And then I begin to say, well, dang, is that enough? Am I showing up enough when I walk into the business boardroom, and we're talking policy, because that's what your background is, HR. Let me stop and put a plug right here, y'all. Listen, HR principles, okay? That's the name of the company that she is the owner of, okay?
Come on now.
HR principles.
Plug intended.
Plug intended. This is my couch.
I appreciate that.
So if you need some policy, if you need some employee relations issues resolved, I'm gonna need for you to call Shamera at HR principles.
But it's also,
but anyway,
it's also like, I don't want to be in those rooms. That's not where my identity lies. I've been blessed to God has blessed me. His hand has been on my life my entire life, even when I didn't acknowledge his presence and his hand. It has always been on my life. And so I am very blessed to be in rooms where decisions are being made, but I don't feel like I belong. I don't feel like I want to be there. And a part of that is a deeper issue from trauma, from worldly trauma. But the other part of it is I don't identify with those that are primarily in that room. My identity is in, the neighborhood that I come from, but I'm no longer relegated to that neighborhood. The to what we were talking about years ago, Rolanda, that neighborhood no longer serves me in this season. It could moving forward or in the future, but as it stands right now, it doesn't serve me. And so there's nothing for me to do and no reason for me to be there. So I find that I'm in these rooms where I don't find my identity and I get further away from the identity that I'm comfortable with. And I don't want to be there most of the time.
Wow. Go. I'm gonna turn it over to you, life coach. That ain't my lane.
That's a lie.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think we have to accept about ourselves, especially as women, is we are so multifaceted, right? We have so many things, so many things that we offer to the world and to people, but we also have so many things internally that we deal with about ourselves. We have to accept that. We just have to flat out accept that I am complicated.
Mm-hmm.
I'm complicated. Now, in that, we have to have a moment, and Rolanda, I think you said it earlier, we have to have the moment where we sit with ourselves and we have to say what it is we want, not what we don't want. We have to say what it is that we want. And we can get all over the place with trying to have that conversation, because then we'll start feeling bad for wanting it. We'll start feeling unworthy, like we shouldn't ask for it. We'll start feeling all of these different types of emotions, but we have to get to a point where we say, this is what I want for my life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, God, is it in your will?
Yeah.
Bev, it's
Now,
hard.
is it in your will?
It's hard to sit with yourself, and I think it's important for us to understand, at least for me, sitting with yourself and trying to, now if you're a life coach or you're technically trained, but I would say that yes, sit with yourself, right? But where I draw the line and where I would say sitting with yourself becomes but so useful is when you're trying to take what you have regurgitated up about yourself, or the makeup of yourself, once you finally put those pieces together, what does that mean for you as you show up in the world and you having these identity crisis issues? I'm not technically trained in order for me to take the makeup of who I am, all of my trauma, my past, my pain, and now my purpose as I sit in these rooms and try to figure out how do I maximize in a way where I don't feel like I'm having identity issues. So I agree with you. Yes, sit with yourself. But I also do agree that we have to acknowledge too, as Black women, that we don't take the times after we've sat with ourselves to come up with, okay, so who can I reach out to, or what does this mean for me now that I've brought all of these things that I have rediscovered about myself back to the surface? Because if we bring it back to the surface and then we don't figure out how to utilize it, then it just becomes, at least for me, reliving what my reality is not, good, bad, or indifferent.
Well, I think that you're hitting things dead on the head. I think what we need to do though is that we need to start to pivot our thinking about how we show up in the world, or where we come from and the trauma and everything that's associated with that. We begin to pull back the layers on those types of things by now taking that question and saying, okay, I've sat with myself and I realized this, and this about me. The next question is that how God sees me? Is that what his word says? It does my thinking now align with what the word of God says? Because that is where our true identity is. And that is the only way that we're going to be able to show up in the world and be successful in that particular sphere, or knowing who we are and dealing with the past trauma. We're going to be able to show up very well going back to those things that has traumatized us from our past. That is the reason why we have couch conversations. Very, very good conversation. Like you just said, it's like, I don't know what to do with that. Like after I sit in it, like then give me a tool. It's basically, you know, like what you're saying, like, give me a tool. What do I do with this? I can acknowledge it all day, but then how do I move forward from that? Bev, you were getting ready to say something
Yeah,
as well, too.
and that's exactly right, because sitting in it is not the end of it. Sitting in it is bringing awareness to yourself. It is saying, it is calling a thing, so you can hear the thing that you're calling out. But then you have to have something to align it with. And it can only be the word. It can only be the word, because it can't be your neighbor. It can't be somebody else that you know, because believe it or not, they have their own. They're dealing, they have their own that they're trying to work out too. And also, this is not about perfection. This is not about solving the issue. It's about accepting who you are and then saying, God, listen, this is how I feel about me, but your word says that I shouldn't feel that way about me. You say I'm this, and this, which is total opposite of what I'm feeling. Now I need to get into your word so I can believe what you said.
But
and that takes prayer. That takes supplication. That takes spending time with him. And it is a journey. It is a journey. It's not a 1 week and now I'm going to be past it.
Yeah.
It takes time to do it. And it's not a resolve. It's a way. It's a way.
So I hear everything that the two of you are saying, but I'm talking to those individuals who have not yet seen themselves in God, in Christ.
Yep.
Right.
And so you can't roll out this regimen of saying, oh, how do I know I'm dealing with identity issues or self-worth issues rather, and let me just go read the Bible. Let me then figure out what the Bible would say about me. That's for someone who has a certain level of comfortability with Christ. And if in true honesty, and the two of you know this, I didn't accept and actually take part in my relationship with Christ until I realized that he flipped the table in the temple. I was like, oh, so you get angry. I get angry too. Now I'm going to read the Bible. Now I'm going to read your word because I see me in you. Right now I know you're my father, okay? Because you're flipping tables in the temple. And so I feel like for those that are listening and they're like, I don't see myself in him. Like, I know that he wants the best for me. I think that we have to come up with something for those that are dealing with self-worth. We have to be able to give someone something that is practical, that will have the allure of what it is that God would say about them, want for them, before we can just give them this regimen that is not practical for their world and not realistic. And that's a part of me too. I'm trying to figure out what is going to be the continual allure, because there are so many things that I'm encountering now that, okay, during that season when he flipped the temple, I was angry. Flipped the table in the temple, I was angry. But I'm not necessarily dealing with anger. I'm dealing with self-worth right now. So Jesus, what did you do? Did you deal with self-worth issues? And how do I take that and translate it?
But here's the thing. Honestly, the whole purpose of us talking, you know, about the whole self-worth and all the other stuff, whether you have practical tools or not, when you really, really get down to it, it comes to, there is something bigger than us that we need to be able to tap into. And this particular platform, we are saying, sister friend, if you are suffering from self-worth and all that other stuff, we're saying that because we have established a relationship with God, here's what we know to be the truth based upon what God's word says, right? Because there are many scriptures in the Bible that talks about self-worth and God seeing you and God seeing the value in you and God paying particular attention and detail to you, that he formed you to be so very, very unique. And that it alone in itself speaks about how valuable you are to God. Whether you believe that you have self-worth or not, God does. And so what we're saying is as an identity struggle, let's talk about some of those things and let's put the right perspective in. Because if I'm going into a place where I don't even really want to be, taken from you, what you're saying, I don't even want to be in those particular spaces, then where is it that you feel more comfortable? What does God say about who you are, given the skills that he's given you, given the talents that he's given you, all of the things that he has birthed you with? There is a place of honor at the table with him for you to be able to go out and impact the kingdom in who Shamera is. Regardless of what you think about Shamera, there is a place, a purpose, a tenor, and everything else for you to affect the people that are assigned to you, whether you believe it or not, So that was a lot.
I don't know who I am, and that's why I'm sitting right here on this couch. You hear me? That's why I'm having self-worth issues, because I'm trying, a part of me seeking Christ, and this is no joke, is I'm trying many different things. That is part of, that's not moving away from who I am organically, but it is tapping into different parts of me. So I'm trying to, a part of the self-worth journey is, as I find myself in these rooms talking to these people sitting across, and really not understanding why God has me there. Why am I talking to this person when I know half of the stuff? I'm sure that there are other people out there, but that self-worth also has like an underlining, I don't want to be here, I want to be somewhere else, but this is not the time for that. But it's like, why am I here? Right? I don't look like you, I don't talk like you, I don't have the same history as you. And I am on the human side of it, I'm restricting myself and not really leaning into God. And so it's like, okay, when I do lean into God, I'm trying different things. So I'm trying like, okay, let me be peaceful. Let me come into this room and be peaceful. And then something will happen. And then it's like, nope, that's not working. And then I'll come into it and I'm like, let me try to, to garner relationships and really give this a shot, because I know the word would say, and God would want me to garner relationships. Let me try that, and hopefully that'll get rid of me feeling like I'm doubting myself, or I don't have enough self-worth to be in this place. So I'm trying many things.
Maybe so this is me, right? I'm getting ready to just come for the juggler, right?
You ain't got to.
Maybe stop. Maybe
you
stop.
ain't got to.
Trying.
Not in this moment, but go on with yourself. Do whatever you do.
What? Maybe just stop. Maybe just stop all of that, and just say, God, okay, show me. Okay, let me back. We are human beings, and all I hear is that you are humanly doing. You just doing. And with all of this doing, you're trying so many different things to see if that's going to add value to that particular situation that you're doing something. Or let me try this, and let me garner this relationship, and let me do this, and let me do that. And you are wearing you didn't woke me out. Just because
I'm confused. I don't know why it's there. And I'm trying to get an understanding. That's what the Bible said, right? I'm trying to get an understanding. I'm trying to get an understanding, and it is exhausting. But it's like, if I don't feel like, if I'm truly suffering from a place, which I am, of like my worth in being here, and my worth is attached to people, places, or things, then in my mind, I'm trying to figure out what God would want for me and what he would say about me, and giving those things a shot. And it's exhausting, it is, but I'm trying to get an understanding, and hopefully one of those things will stick. I'm just telling you what I'm doing.
But do you believe that your worth is attached to people, places, and things? I
believe that God sends people, places, and things.
That's not what I asked you. That's not what I asked you.
I'm giving you the best answer I got, okay? I believe that he sends people, places, or things to help you understand his calling on your life and what he would have you to do in the earth. And so I'm relegating the people, places, or things to, okay, God, if you want me to be in this room on this day, I don't believe it. I don't think I have what it takes, but I'll give it a shot. Let me go in here and try to garner relationships. That's how I'm putting those things together.
Gotcha. I gotcha. And then when you find that those things are not working to your standard, how do you handle it?
What?
You turn over the table. Do you turn over the table?
Do you turn over the table?
No, I don't turn over the table. I just honestly, I just whatever. It becomes my disposition. It's like whatever. Whatever just becomes my disposition. I certainly don't turn over a table because I need a table to eat, right? And so, but I just don't care about it. I leave it.
So obviously we see that this is one of those self-worth things that is still going on, right? Because we have people who come to the couch and we have people who have talked about being an overcomer of some things. And self-worth is a huge stumbling block in the Christian walk, in the Christian life. And even, I don't even think, it don't even really have to be Christian.
Right,
It's just
right.
self-worth, period, will get us tripped up because it's easy for us to believe the false narrative that we tell about ourselves based upon outside influences instead of being very, very sure about who God says that we are. And once we realize who God says that we are, it doesn't matter what room we show up in, because that is going to be the ruler. That's going to be the governing stick. That's going to be the gauge of how we participate and how we show up in those different areas, people, places, and things, to put it the way that you did. We're going to be able to garner those particular things, knowing that this is what I believe that God says about me, and it can't nobody change that for me. So I can move in this space, I can move with this person, I can move with this thing and still be cool with it, and not get it kind of, twisted about who I am and what God says about me. I can walk in the room, speak a thing, demonstrate a thing, and know that I have put my 100% value, my whole best self into it, and it's good. Period.
And even if the end result is not how I pictured it, doesn't mean that I did it wrong.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I did it wrong. It just means some things work out that way. Because if you think about, like I said, we're so multifaceted. If you think about the relationships or the other rooms outside of those rooms, the other rooms that you have ever been in, and things have just seemed to come together. When you met Rolanda, that was a different room. That was a different room that you were in, and things just seemed to mesh like they were meant to be. So it's not that is a place where it worked. It's okay to have the places where it doesn't work, as long as we show up as we are. So there's nothing wrong. This is really what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with Shamera. There's nothing wrong with Rolanda. There's nothing wrong with Beverly. There's nothing wrong. While we are becoming and learning and filtering things in and out, our job, our calling is to just show up with what we have already learned and what we are still learning. Guarantee you, the rooms that you come out of where things didn't work out, there's always something you can take out of it that'll help you in the next one. Always. Yes. But it's not a penalty. It's not a strike against any of us. It is like you said, we are human. We're human, and things just don't always work out. But to see yourself in such a place where you saying, this is naturally who I am as a person. And if I don't have anything to offer in this moment, I don't have anything to offer. If I do have something to offer and somebody disagrees with me, doesn't change the fact that I had something to offer.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I agree, but I think I want to go back to the point earlier that I make. I don't want to be in those rooms. So the reason why I work with Rolanda is because Rolanda's identity was familiar to mine. That's the way. And so I think as I'm listening to the both of you talk, I think what is sitting in my spirit right now is that I am fighting what I believe my identity is versus what God, what his unfolding identity will be for me. And I am comfortable with the way that the way that I identify and for the village that I have built. And with each passing day, I am getting further and further away from that in some regard. And so it's causing this crisis of like self-worth because I am uncomfortable in this space.
Yep.
And this space that I am in, I have no reference point. I have no knowledge and I don't want to be there. And so it's like, what is my worth here when I already have a worth that I'm comfortable with? I already have an identity to which I'm comfortable with, and I have a village that I've built. So why am I here? What worth am I, what value am I adding?
Yeah. So you know what? It's really funny. I want to jump to one of the things that you shared with us when you went to tell me why you chose for your identifying scripture, you chose Genesis 16 verses 13. And I want us to go there really quick so we can I want to read that because there's a couple of things that I pulled out of here when you were talking about your self-worth, and now it all kind of it's starting to kind of come together for me a little bit even more. Shamera, do you want to go ahead and read that Genesis 16 verses 13?
Sure.
Yep.
So I'm reading NLT. So it says, therefore Hagar used another name to refer to the Lord who had spoken to her. And she said, you are the God who sees me. Want me to continue reading?
The whole 13. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's it for 13 in the NLT.
Yeah, that's it, I think, Rolanda.
In the NLT, it says that she also said, have I truly seen
you want me to
the one who sees me? So there's two questions.
I'll read the whole thing over so that way you can edit this out.
There you go. Yeah.
Therefore, Hagar used another name to refer to the Lord who had spoken to her. She said, you are the God who sees me. She also said, have I truly seen the ones who sees me?
The one who sees me. So at first when I said, okay, Lord, does this have anything to do with self-worth? You know, because I know your background, right? Like me and you were friends, right? So I was like, okay, I'm thinking that this is something else. But as we are sitting here on the couch and we're talking, you know, about you're not wanting to be in a particular room, or you don't want to be associated with that as far as, you know, what you're comfortable with and things of that nature, to give a little bit of background on this particular narrative. Hagar is Sarah's servant. In other words, Sarah or Sarai possesses her. That is her property. She gets to do whatever she wants to do with Hagar, and that's what happens, right? She was waiting for God's promise, and God was taking too long, so she took matters into her own hands and said, Abram, I need you to go over here and give him a girl, and I need for you all to have sexual relations so that I can have my son, right? And so Abraham was like, cool, I got you. And this is what happens. And so when I was reading this story, the verses before, one of the things that really, really got me was that Hagar had contempt for Sarah. Like she had disdain. She didn't think good about her at all, right? And so she's feeling like I'm somebody else's possession. I don't want this man. That's her husband. I want my own. You know what I'm saying? And then you're gonna make me sleep with somebody that I ain't even attracted to. So all of these things. And I'm saying, and I'm identifying in all these things because these are the things that can continue to pile up on us as we look at our worth and what we bring to the table. And in Hagar's case, she was nothing to Sarah because of who she was, the servant or the possession. And one of the things is like, now you're gonna use me because you can't even give your man a baby. So now I got to give up my preciousness, right? My self-worth. I think of myself highly than that, but you're gonna pass me on and have me to sleep with your husband. So there's a whole lot going on here. And one of the things that helped her was to get away. She wanted to get away from Sarah. And all I heard you saying was, I don't even want to be in this room. I don't even really want to be at the table. Like, I want to get away from that because I don't associate myself with that. They don't look like me. They don't talk like me. They don't have anything in common with me. I want to get away. So this is what I'm hearing. And so she ran away. And the angel came and asked her two questions. And this is the funny thing about this. The angel says, where have you come from? You remember saying that, Shamera? We talked about, it's like, where do you come from? And where are you going?
Mm-hmm.
What is your location?
Mm-hmm.
That's what the angel was asking. Like, what is your location? Past and future.
Yeah.
Where's your location? Yeah. Where do you identify the most with in this particular situation, right? And so before we establish what's going on and why you're here in this wilderness, I need for you to recognize where you came from and where you're going. Mm-hmm. But the funny thing about it, and this is the self-worth piece, is that when she answered the question, she answered the what or the why. No, she answered the what. He said where, and she answered the what. I'm running away. I'm running away from my mistress. And so a lot of times when we have these traumas from our past, when we have these identity crises that we're going through or whatnot, we talked about it at the very beginning, like, who are you? And where are you going? You've got to establish, what do I think about myself? What does God say about me? And then we got to figure out everything else in the middle. This is what I think. This is what God says. What's going on right here in the middle? And that is where the golden nuggets lie, because we get to take this mirror and we get to take this foundation and hold it up against each other and see, where am I in the middle of that? And that's what was going on with Hagar. And only way for Hagar to do what she was supposed to do is that she had to go back. He told her, go back, submit to the authority. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, I am going to bless you. Matter of fact, you got a baby in your stomach right now. Mm-hmm. While we're talking, you got a baby in your stomach. And so I said all of that to say, when you think about the things that you have gone through in your past, right? The trauma, the victories, the struggles, the accomplishments, the being the first in the family. You have a lot of things that's waiting on you as far as what you're bringing to the table. Now you mesh that with your professional life and your relationships that you build with coworkers, friends, family, etc. All of that is identity shaping. All of that is identity shaping. And the beauty in that is that we get to decide, like Bev said, we get to decide which part of me truly aligns with that thing that's going to give me peace, because that what gives me peace is probably lining up with what God says about us in the first place. When we have those struggles and when we have the turmoils that we're trying to figure out, God, you know, like, why am I here? Why do I have to do this? There is a disturbance that's going on. And that's when you have to say, okay, God, I'm struggling with this thing. What does your word say? Help me identify with what your word says about this, what I'm struggling with. And that's where you're going to find the true core of who God says that you are. And then you'll be able to start operating in the fullest, and in the authority and with the power and with the dignity that he gives you to be 100% authentic Shamera, regardless of what room you're in. Regardless of what room you're in. So that's why I asked the question, you know, where are you going? You know, where you come from, all of that stuff in the middle of that, then how can you pick Shamera out of that? How do you pick yourself those intricate pieces that God says that you are, sandwiched in the middle, and then rise to the occasion and know that you are very, very valuable and that you bring a certain thing to the table that I can't, that Bev can't, that your supervisor can't, you know what I'm saying? That your other peer that we used to work with can't, you know what I'm saying? You have that thing that is so important, and we can't minimize that because God gave it to us. So whether you want to be in that room or not, he still gave you what you need to be in that room. And while you're in that room, you get to show all of his glory, not Shamera's glory. All of his glory, because it's valuable. And he put it on you. He put that value on you so that when you do show up in the room, it's gonna be, okay, I see. I see her. Is this the one that sees me?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. I said all of that to ask you this question. Is your identity crisis with self-worth, or is it really about people seeing the real you when you show up in the people, places, and things that God puts you into? Is it that they see the real you the way that God sees you?
Well, so I can't, that's a very, very loaded question. I will say, I can't tell you if they see me the way that God sees me, because if you notice in the scripture, Hagar says, you are the God who sees me, but she also asked him the question that, have I truly seen the one who sees me? And so I don't know, because I don't know the way that God sees me, which is a part of the identity, the self-worth, is because I'm still
glad you said
that out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So they may look at me and see the potential, but because I am so, I am yet still in a place of, I don't know, God, what's the worth that I can attribute to this situation? I don't want to be here because I'm still trying to work things out internally. I don't really care what they see, and I discredit what they see for a large part of it, simply because, and this is not just in the professional space, this is in the personal space too. Sure. Like, you know, sure. I discredit because if I find that I don't want to be in that room, that's not a room that I identify with, and whatever the regard is, then what they see is secondarily. And yes, they could see what God sees in me, but if I don't see it, and even once I do see it, if I haven't accepted it, then it has no value. It doesn't have any worth.
Right, exactly. And so basically what I hear you saying is the struggle is not with the worth, it's you not knowing your worth. It's not that you don't have worth. It's not that you don't have the worth, it's just that you don't understand the worth the way that God sees it. That's where you have to stop and put the work in.
No, the struggle is what I mentioned earlier, which is I have my own worth in the way that I identify.
Right.
And it is coming up against the way that God would have my worth to be, because I by myself, I'm not putting myself in these rooms, I promise, or these situations. I'm not doing it to myself. But but it's like these doors are opening for me, and for some reason, and it's only God. And so it's like, God, what do you want me to do here? Because I'm comfortable over here. I'm comfortable. I'm quasi happy. I'm making things work. Life is mediocrely good, right? Like, and then I'm just in these rooms, and people are looking to me, personal and professional, for answers and solutions, and I'm just like, what? Why? And it's only the doors that are being opened for me because I'm not intentionally looking to open up the doors for the rooms and the people and the places that God is putting me in front of.
Yeah. That is so.
Just one question. So what has you convinced that it's God opening the door?
Because I'm not doing it myself, Bev.
Right.
So
but what has you convinced that it's God?
But I'm not. So if it's not God, then yes, it could be the enemy, but I don't want to bring that. I don't want to speak life to that, because there's power in the tongue. And so
well, he's after you now. He's after you.
We're not gonna get there, not today.
Okay, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. We don't have to go into it. But you can't dismiss the fact that he's on your heels.
Yeah.
Can't dismiss the fact that he's on your heels. And one thing that I know, see, I have been in a place where I wanted to make so much money. That's what I wanted for my life, because I felt like that was a position I was in. I was skilled, I was trained, and I wanted to make money. I wanted 6 figures. I wanted them to be big. And everything that kept happening and that I said yes to brought me sorrow. It brought me pain. Once I got there, it was more, I felt more penalized when I got there than I was, like you said, when I was over here minding my business with this little peaceful job that, I was fine. I was helping people. But as soon as in my thinking, I wanted something different, and then I kept getting to something different, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. I only ask you that question because I've heard you repeatedly say, I don't even want to be in those rooms. One or two things is happening. You're either being placed in the rooms by God because there, like Rolanda said, there is something that you are supposed to exude in those rooms. There is something that's in you that's supposed to be prevalent in those rooms. Whether it's a major decision or just it's going to be all right to the person beside you in the room. It could be that small, which would be big to them. Or your yeses to those rooms. You can't say, I don't want to be in the room. And then when they invite you to the room, you say yes. And then when you get in the room, you don't want to be in the room.
No,
that's just giving you what you want. And if you said your worth is right now is strong and it is in direct conflict with what God says your worth is, then that means your worth is winning.
But we're leaving out a scenario too, because I also want to, so what is happening is also the fact that, like, I'm saying yes to something that is preliminarily, and then I'm being pushed to a different level of something that I didn't say yes to, but I opened up the door for. And it wasn't a part of it. It certainly wasn't a part of it initially. And again, this is not just about the professional stuff. This is about, like, my life, my personal life too. And so it's like, if I'm being brought into something for something that is preliminary to that situation, but it's separate, and then it just so happens to work out, or someone sees something in me, and then it's like, it's just furthering the nudging that I get or the request. And so it's just like, I didn't say this. I'm fine right here with my preliminary yes, working out this scenario.
Well, So then do you feel obligated? Because, so again, we're talking about this whole self-worth thing. Like, you have the choice. You have the choice to put a stop to it and only let it be preliminary or primary or whatever the case may be. But if they're starting to, if these things that you're saying yes to in these rooms and people and things that you're associated to is starting to further move you down a road maybe that you're not wanting to go into, you knowing your self-worth and your ability to come into that thing and say, this is not for me, this is not what I want, regardless of what the consequences are going to be, you have the right to say, no, I don't want to do that, you know, even though this is what, you know, you are asking me to do. You have a choice in doing that, because that shows that your time is valuable. That shows that what you are giving out is valuable. There's value and there's worth in those kinds of actions as well. So it's really, it's a decision. It's the decision that you can make or not make as to whether you want to be in those rooms or not, you know. And I don't think that those has anything to do with the value of who you are, your self-worth. It's just a choice, honestly. It's just you saying yes or no. It's really just saying you saying yes or no.
Yes and no. So a part of the reason why I feel like it's being furthered is because the part of me does look at it and say, well, God, is this a part of you building out my understanding about what it is that you would have me to do? And to Bev's point, maybe it could be me allowing for certain levels to come into my life. And Bev, I'm paraphrasing what you said so eloquently, but just follow me here. It could be me, you know, allowing certain things into my life by choice, and what you said, Rolanda, too. But it's also, but the way that I see it is like, okay, Lord, I don't enjoy it, but I also don't want to turn down what could be something that I'm not enjoying right now, but could also serve a greater understanding about what my purpose will be. And the second thing that I'm thinking about is like, look, God is not bothered by the fact that you're uncomfortable. Your yes is not relegated to your comfortability. And so that's the second thing that I'm thinking about. But the third thing is also is that like the scripture, you know, Deuteronomy 33:25, which is, you know, as thy days, so shall thy strength be. And so I'm using the things that I know have worked for me in the past, to go to what I said earlier, to help in trying to come to push back on the self-worth of like, I said yes to something that I knew I was confident and comfortable in doing, but this is unraveling quite fast. And because it's unraveling quite fast, and it's bringing me into a place where I don't know, Lord. I don't know if I have the skills, the talent, the understanding, the patience, the virtue, all of these things, but I'm here and I'm using those three things, right? Like I said, to the scriptures, I'm using what my yes, and the fact that I know that he doesn't care about my comfortability, because it's in my comfortability that's ultimately also going to serve as a testimony for someone else who may be in a room that I'm supposed to be in, that's like, look, I'm also uncomfortable here too, right? But I'm here, and I think that, and I'm trying to honor God with like, I'm here, but I'm also having these self-worth issues, but I'm here.
I think you're being too hard on yourself. I honestly think you are being too hard on yourself. And I will say this, because I used to be this person. I used to take everything that I knew logically, and try to fit it into the scenario and the place that I was in. And God is like, girl, that stuff is like dumb to me. That's dumb stuff. I need for you to be on, and I'm on an intelligent level, right? I'm like way up here with my intelligence. And God is like, I need you to dumb that down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because what you're saying is self-worth. and what you're bringing and the rooms that you're coming into, I don't think that they're necessarily way out from what God is saying. Because here's the one thing that you're doing. You're constantly seeking him and asking him, God, is this really where you want me to be? Because I don't feel like this is where I can best utilize my, talent. I don't even really want to be here. I ain't got the warm and fuzzies, right, for you. But nonetheless, not my will be done, your will be done. You are doing exactly what you're actually supposed to be doing. You're still moving forward, even with you second guessing and saying, do I really want to do this? Is this, I don't think it's about self-worth. It's not about self-worth. It's really about you understanding, is this the purpose, the calling that I'm supposed to be in? Your talents, your skills, your abilities, that's all there. You ain't questioning the worth of those things or the value that you bring to the table with those things. It's like, am I spending my time doing this stuff?
It's like, am I doing the right thing?
Am I doing the right thing? Yeah. Because your questions are more so for God to show you, is this the way? Is this the road I'm supposed to be in? Are you really wanting me to show up in this place? Yeah, I don't want to be here, but if this is where you want me to impact, then yes. Yeah. So, yeah.
Which is exactly why you find yourself reaching for each of these different compartments. Well, maybe I'm in the room this time to garner relationships. Well, maybe I'm in here this time to do this. And maybe I'm in here this time to do this. And I'm going to try all of the stuff. I'm going to try it all because I keep ending up in these rooms. So since I keep ending up in these rooms, all you're trying to do is please God.
Yep.
Yeah, in a room where I don't want to be in because I don't feel like I have the value to bring. I don't feel like my value is in those rooms. So that's why I'm like, you got worth issues, because I don't feel like these rooms are benefiting from what I have. And so it's like, do I belong in this room? Why am I in this room? Who was?
Well, maybe you have isolated what value is based on your belief systems, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe what really is value, you're not considering it to be value.
Right.
Maybe because it's not tangible. Maybe because you can't touch it. Maybe because nobody says anything. Maybe because nobody shows you anything, responds in a certain way. Maybe you're missing the value add because of your belief system about what value looks like to you.
So you're making value transactional.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Come on, Dad, you should do this for a living.
Oh, I sort of do. I sort of kind of do. Yeah, I'm saying, so you missing, here it is, Rolanda. You missing living. You missing it. And in these rooms where and the first sign is, I don't want to be. 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 You missing it. Because it might be sitting right next to you in the room, the value. People don't always say thank you in this world. So they might be sitting next to you and you might impact them with something that you don't even call value because you believe value is in this list right here. And if it's not in this list, I'm not adding any value.
Again, we go back to the scripture that she picked. She picked the whole thing about, did I see, did he just see me? The person that nobody sees, the person that sees as a commodity or a piece of property or just a transaction for me to just be able to do something, for my skill to just be used, and then that's all they see. You see what I'm saying? Like that's where that works.
And then she turned around and said, have I even really seen the one that sees me, right?
Right.
So seeing the one that sees you, you may be offering peace, gentleness, and kindness, and all of those things that are not on your list. That is the one, when you see the one that sees you, those are the things. That's the fruit.
Yep, that's the fruit.
And I know that, so to be clear, I know I have those things, but I have them for what I have relegated
Oh,
Yep.
absolutely.
Going back to,
Yep.
I'm like, God, I don't be wanting none of this, Lord, what's happening?
Yep.
I'm comfortable over here, right? And then, it's just like, no, whatever. It's like every time I open up my mouth, I was gonna cuss, but I'm not. Every time I open up my mouth,
Cuss.
it's like every time I open up my mouth, it's just like somebody latches onto something, and that brings me further and further and further into what I don't
want to do
as worth. I don't identify as my worth. And it's like it puts on hold where I am comfortable showing up and being valued, being an asset, being of worth. And it's like, but God, I'm comfortable over here. What's that?
Right. But sometimes our level of comfortability can mean that we are disobedient and selfish.
I didn't ask for all of that. that was a little potent.
You're steady trying to twist God's arm, about you're not gonna win that. Your arms are too short to box with God, which
not that one.
I'm with you. I just want to eat breakfast first. That was a little strong. Just let me eat breakfast first.
Yeah, I mean, but that's I think that we went all the way around the mulberry bush to say that what we feel is valuable to us may not always look like what it is presented to us, right? And so that's why I went back to the question. So how do we see ourselves? How do we see ourselves? The value that we look at, we say that these things are all valuable to me, but then we have to size that up to what the world is showing us that is valuable to them. And then, do I measure up to that? That don't even look like what I think value is. And now that I have to participate in that, it's devaluing me. It's devaluing me, because that ain't what my definition of value is in the first place. But now I gotta go over here and play in your sandbox that really doesn't add value to me, although that's where my skills are, that's where I show up, that's a part of, the talents and things that I have. And then what happens is that people will then begin to gloss over and don't really see the true person and the value that I bring to this. Why can't you see the value that I bring? You see the value that you see in me, but do you see the value that I see in me? And that's that whole battle with self-worth, self-worth. And then and how do we then take that and say, okay, God, this is how I see myself. I know you see me this way, but then we have this third party that's in there, this third leg. How does the world see me? And now I've got to color inside and out of the lines in order to make sense of this whole thing about what I think is valuable to me and what God says is valuable. And I think at the end of the day, for our sister friends that are out there, yes, our opinion matters. What we think about ourselves and the value that we bring matters. But what matters most is what God says about us, and how we then take what God says and make that our truth that we carry when we go out into the world. Because that is what is going to attract. That is also what's going to repel the enemy from us as well. How we see ourselves is what's going to attract what God wants us to, and how we see ourselves is what's going to repel the enemy. He won't be able to touch us because of our perspective and how we feel and how we think of what God says about us as well too. So yeah.
I think for me, some things that I took away from this is the first thing is I don't have it figured out, but as long as I have this village, I'll take certain things that'll, it's the small things that add up to the big things. So I think that this village being one of the anchors that I have to help me in figuring it out. The second thing that I will say that this conversation in a way that it has helped me is, really coming to understand that my yes may not be relegated to disobedience. It may actually, by saying no, I may be being more obedient to the thought process that, like, hey, you're not going up against God because you say no. You stepped into this for this particular reason, this particular assignment, and that's okay. And if I am in the room, then I have to be comfortable with thinking outside of what I have identified as value, and stop making value so transactional. Another thing that I have taken away from this is, which I've known, but I haven't said out loud, is that I am fighting what I identify as value versus where God is taking me, and all of the things that he's introducing me to. And so my way of identifying myself is coming up against the way that he has placed value and worth on me. And I really do believe that I am in the thick of fighting him. And it is only until I stop fighting him, which I don't know how, because listen, I'm a streaker. But it's only until I stop fighting him that I'm not going to be tired and exhausted.
All right, Jacob.
Listen, okay, that's what I said. Listen, when somebody said, anyway, but it's only when I stop fighting him that I will be able to not only hear what he has to say, because I haven't heard it. I don't know, and I'm pretty sure it's because I'm still fighting.
Because you're fighting.
But also after I hear what he would say about me, and the worth that I bring to any scenario that he presents to me that is outside of my own identification and my own comfortability, then I have to accept it, and that's another journey by itself. So y'all just stick around and don't go nowhere, because this is a loss. It's gonna take a while.
But the beauty, so this is why I get so emotional, because we talked a lot today that has been different from every other couch conversation that we've ever had.
Oh, wow.
The reason that I say that is we dealt with more of the worldly challenges that are coming at us in our thought processes and how we see things than on other couch conversations. But the beauty in it is that as we walk that thing down, what you just said out of your mouth, those 4 takeaways, is exactly what Holy Spirit was trying to get you to see. You can't fight me when my will is to be done. Mm-hmm. And because you acknowledge the favor that God has had upon your life and how he's, opened up these doors and things of that nature, you doggone sure getting ready to tell him how to do the life that he has planned for you. You ain't gonna do that.
I ain't gonna stop me from trying. So
that's obvious. That's obvious.
Ain't gonna stop me from trying. I am trying.
Fight on, sister.
Yeah. And here's the other thing about that is the way that you are so true about it. You ain't trying to put on airs about your Christian walk and all of this other stuff. You are literally saying, y'all, I'm still fighting it, because there's some things in my flesh and in my thinking that makes me feel like, oh, I can get through that because I've been used to doing things that way. But the more that you stay with God, the more that you walk with him, the more that you ask him them questions, the more that you are honest with him and say, look, God, I don't want to do this. Mm-hmm. He's cool with that. Do you know he can handle I don't want to do this? Mm-hmm. Do you know that he is cool with handling, I'm comfortable over here, so let me stay over there? And he like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna give you 12 more seconds over there. and then I'm coming for you. You know what I'm saying? Because what God has for you, it's gonna happen whether we fight him or not. But as we're fighting him, I want you to be encouraged that your fighting is not fighting to be disobedient. Your fighting is trying to really get an understanding. You try to figure this thing out in your own strength sometimes, but you keep leaning into him. You keep leaning into him. And so, keep fighting. Keep fighting, because the more that you fight, the more I see that you're going to continue to seek him for the answers.
Yep.
And there's no better place to be. There is no better place to be. So when you're thinking about your value and the places and the rooms that he's putting you in, and for every other sister friend that is out there that is struggling, with some of these same things, and even struggling with telling God, I don't really want to do this because I don't see the value in it. Stay right there. I'm saying stay right there, because he's gonna show up in the most authentic way that he can, because you're being authentic. The girlfriend out there that's looking at this, stay in the true authentic self of it, because God ain't finna bless nothing that you pretending to do and be. He ain't gonna do it.
Yeah. Stay in it and look for him. Stay in it and look for him.
And look for him. Yeah.
As you guys are talking, I'm thinking about was it Joshua, when they were mourning over Moses, and Joshua and God was like, all right, get over it. It's a time now. Enough time has passed. We need
I think that was Saul. When he mourned Saul being killed, and he was crying and everything. God was like, why are you still mourning something that I've let go? Like, get over it. I'm done with him.
Joshua 1:9, after the death of Moses, the servant, and they were mourning him. And all I keep thinking about is that has, and God knows his child, right? He knows that I'm gonna need that type of potent, get over it enough, because I will continue to mourn. I think that's what I'm doing too. I'm mourning the fact that I am moving, I'm beyond my level of where I'm comfortable and where I see my self-worth as being tied to. And I'm mourning that with each passing day, I am moving further and further away from that.
Away from it.
Yeah. And so I'm waiting for that moment where God is just like, and it has to be that potent. It has to be, because I'm going to continue to mourn. Now, that was a mic drop. I'm gonna go ahead about myself and consider.
That was really good.
That was
That was really, really good. That was really good.
That was good. That was good. So you're waiting for him to tell you this.
The only way that I will, he was very clear, and he was very clear about, I gave you time. I gave you more than enough time. Now we have to move on. And I feel like, exactly. And I feel like for my level of fight and my level of, because I've fought my entire life. And so for the level of fighting that I have in me, I get weary, but I always come back and try to, because at the end of the day, I'm still mourning where I know I was and where I know I was. Where I knew my worth and where I have my worth tied to. So this is a fight that I feel like is worth it, so to speak. And so if God does not come to me in a level that is excess of my mourning, I'm still going to mourn, and which means that I'm still going to be showing up in these rooms where I am mourning one part of my life that I'm moving further away from, but also not truly understanding my worth in where
you are. Yep. Oh yeah, that's very, very good.
Good. You fighting for your life.
Fighting for your life.
Yes.
Fighting for your life.
That's exactly it.
Fighting for your life.
Yep. But here's the other thing to that too, is while you're fighting, start asking God to give you the spirit to trust him.
I can do that.
Yep. Just ask, Lord, just listen, I'm comfortable over here, but let me trust that you know my future. You know what I'm saying? And wherever room that you're moving me into, whatever that I can trust the value that you've already placed on me.
Because it's theirs, just I have it tied to something else.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So ask him to start, shifting your vision or giving you a little bit more clarity about the value that he's already given to you, and let you reduce why his value increases. Let your value of how you see things decrease, and let his value and all the blessings that come with it. Yeah, let that come. Like, come, spirit come forth. Let mine diminish and let yours come forth, because girl, that value is glorious. Yeah. Yeah. Pray for that. Pray for
At
that.
At the end of the day, there is one knowing that I am very, very sure of. Even if I don't feel it, even if I can't put my finger on it, he loves you.
Yep.
That's clear about. Yes.
Flat out, no ifs, ands, and buts about it. He loves you. And God is not petty. So if he's
feel like
so if he's doing it,
petty. I think God is petty.
I don't think he's petty.
petty.
I think it's the way it affects us. And people like, okay, for real, you gonna do that little stuff? That's what you gonna do. Here's what I know. If he's doing it, whatever he's doing, that's how much he thinks about you.
Yep.
If it's happening to you, it's happening for you.
Yep.
See that in it.
Right.
Yeah.
See it. See
That's
it.
good.
If it's happening to you, it's happening for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Loves you, child. Keep on fighting, though. I like that, George
I
Foreman.
do too.
Yeah, come on.
I do too.
George Foreman.
Yeah, come on.
Listen, thank you so much for being here with us today, Shamera. I really appreciate it. We actually unpacked a whole lot of things, and I'm going to keep this one as is. I'm not gonna change anything about it, because I think that when people get into it and they really start unpacking it the way that we did, they're going to walk away from, number one, what does my value look like? How do I itemize value in my life? And then how do I share that with the world? And then does that align with what God says about the value and the places and the people and the things that he's trying to connect me to? So, sister friends, if you have any question about your self-worth, please know that everything that you need is at the hands of him. And that means your value is at the hands of him and everything else that comes with it. So we thank you for being with us on today. Shamera, thank you. We want you to come back and sit on the couch with us. And please subscribe to the channel. We really, really hope that something that we have said today has encouraged you or has made you see things in a different light. And again, remember, everything you need is at the hands of him. And we will see you next time on Couch Conversations. Bye, ladies. Have a good one.